What's up, Knicks fans? Welcome back to the True Knicks Talk Podcast post-game live. Today we're talking Knicks versus Jazz. The New York Knicks are winners of 8 straight ball games. We're going to be discussing all of that. Excuse me, before we get into that, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below for all your latest Knicks talk. And like I said, hit that live chat, hit the comment section. Our Knicks are winners of 8 straight. I am live. It's time to get up. It's time to celebrate. You know where to find me for all your latest Knicks talk on X, on Instagram, all that good stuff. Make sure you toss a follow, subscribe to the channel. I definitely appreciate it. And let's get into it.
Three-pointer, puts it on back. 3 seconds left. Put up the three. What a combination by Jaylen Brunson.
118-103 is your final score. The New York Knicks are victorious for 8 straight wins, 6 straight at home, defeating the Utah Jazz, who are 10th in the Western Conference by a score of 118-103. Here are my game notes. Honestly, I feel like I don't even need any game notes nowadays when it comes to our New York Knicks. These guys just go out there and straight up ball. There's nothing to talk about with this team other than the fact that you already know what we're going to get production-wise from the starting unit, and especially the bench guys that step up with OG Anunoby and Julius Randle out. Devo, Dante DiVincenzo, career high. I have 30 burger, which that is true, but he actually finished with 33 points, 9 of 15 from 3. Absolutely phenomenal game. He was lighting the Utah Jazz up from downtown. Josh Hart, Precious Achiuwa. Listen. Josh Hart, before the game, said that he was going to go out there and get a triple-double. And that's exactly what Josh Hart did. Triple-double, I believe 10 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. I had to go back in the stat book and look at what it actually was for Josh Hart. But nonetheless, I don't have those right in front of me. Triple-double for Josh Hart. Sticking true to his word, but Precious Achiuwa. Can we talk about a guy that came over in the OG Anunoby trade, was an afterthought in a lot of Knicks fans' minds, even in my mind? I'm not going to lie to you. I undersold Precious Achiuwa and the role that he was going to have with this team, especially considering the fact that Julius Randle was obviously healthy at the time, and I figured he'd be getting the bulk minutes. Precious Achiuwa is coming in and doing exactly what we've been asking of him. And honestly, he's the type of guy that fits Tibbs' system because he is an undersized power forward, 6'8", 6'9" in stature, doesn't have too much length to him, but he's going out there and fulfilling that backup center duty. And we even saw him start yesterday in Charlotte in the absence of Isaiah Hartenstein. Shout out Precious Achiuwa. I believe he had 18 points in the ball game, just shy of 20. Absolutely phenomenal. The guys stepping up, Josh Hart and Precious Achiuwa, deserve mad props, man. They deserve mad props. These guys are doing everything on the glass. In the assist category, scoring points. Josh Hart notching in 10 points. Precious Achiuwa, 18 points. Like I said, these guys are contributing to the New York Knicks in a huge way. And that's something that the Knicks definitely needed in lieu of the Isaiah Hartenstein injuries that have been continuing to plague him. I know we saw Isaiah Hartenstein back in the rotation today in the starting lineup. It was a great thing to see, especially with that nagging Achilles injury. We saw him on the back-to-back, the game 1 of the back-to-back, taking a seat in Charlotte. It was no Hart, no problem. And it's been, honestly, no OG, no Julius. I misspelled his name over here because I'm rushing to get these graphics ready for this live stream. But no OG, no Julius for the last 2 games. And it has been absolutely no problem for the New York Knicks to overcome their absences. Obviously, good news initially on the Julius Randle front. The last time I was live on this podcast, on the True Knicks Talk postgame, I did not get a chance to talk about the Julius Randle injury because obviously it happened after my last live stream. But what I will say, and everything that we've been hearing, initially good news with that x-ray on his shoulder. Obviously took a tough spill in the latter half of that Miami Heat game, whether it was garbage time or whether it wasn't, which is something I'm going to talk about here in this Utah Jazz game with stubborn Tom Thibodeau. As much as I love Tom Thibodeau, he's definitely stubborn sometimes when he refuses to pull these starters out of the game. Julius Randle taking a tough spill. The MRI initial results, I don't think we have those just yet, but all the speculation, we saw Adrian Wojnarowski speculating, and I use this term very loosely in terms of the word speculating, because honestly, we don't have anything concrete to go off of. Tom Thibodeau hasn't provided any concrete evidence that those MRI results are in. We don't even know, as far as I know, the last time I checked on X, if we have those MRI results, but I am refreshing my feed every single minute. Initial, I guess, diagnosis seems like it's going to be in the weeks category, that Julius Randle is going to miss instead of the months category, per Adrian Wojnarowski, which is absolutely phenomenal. And like I said, it was a very tough spill. This could have been an injury that was a lot worse. So we're lucky, as far as the initial diagnosis goes, that Julius Randle, there is no, I guess, breaks, there's no fractures, and we're hoping there's no ligament damage in terms of that shoulder. So let's monitor Julius Randle's situation. Obviously, OG Anunoby sitting the second game as well. Did not see him in this back-to-back. The initial reports are it is elbow inflammation. We'll monitor that situation. Obviously, we got a game coming up against the Indiana Pacers on Thursday. We'll see if OG Anunoby is ready to go. As far as we know, OG Anunoby's injury is just inflammation at this point, and let's continue to hope that it's just inflammation. I know sometimes us as fans don't get the full transparency surrounding these injuries for one reason or another from the team. I'm not saying we're owed it, but it would be nice to at least know. But I guess they had to do their due diligence in terms of getting all of those tests done for both of these guys to figure out what's actually going on. But let's talk about some things that we can control here, and that was an electric dub against the Utah Jazz. Through and through, the guys that I've mentioned already stepping up big time. Dante DiVincenzo scoring, Josh Hart getting that triple-double. His first, I believe, Mr. Mike Breen said this is the first triple-double of Josh Hart's career. Very impressive that he would say that in the pregame, I believe talking with Rebecca Harlow, that he was going to get a triple-double, and that actually came to fruition. I guess he had the magic senses going tonight. Like I said, this is the True Knicks Talk Podcast. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Whether you're tuning in live, make sure you hit the live comment section. Drop your thoughts and opinions. It's a great time to be a New York Knicks fan. It's a great time to be a Knicks fan. Hit the chat if you're pumped over this win. 8 wins in a row, and we'll get into the updated Eastern Conference standings because we have a shakeup, and the New York Knicks are now in the 3 seed, barring what happens tonight between the 76ers and the Warriors. Subscribe to the channel for more Knicks talk. And like I said, all of my social media platforms are at CPNY Sports, talking more Knicks basketball on my X account on Instagram. Make sure you go check that out and toss me a follow there. Listen, Jaylen Brunson, I don't care what any NBA media personality has to say about Jaylen Brunson anymore, with the exception of Kendrick Perkins. Shout out Big Perk, holding it down on that, let's face it, not so great NBA on ESPN platform. He is defending Jaylen Brunson and defending the New York Knicks night in and night out. And honestly, there's not much to say anymore if you're an NBA media personality. We saw most recently Candace Parker speaking out about Jaylen Brunson and some, I guess, incorrect and non-factual takes that she decided to go on air on TNT and say, and then backtracked in her apology tweets, if you can even call them apology tweets. But nonetheless, nothing, no ill will against Candace Parker. It is what it is. She isn't the only media personality and basketball personality that has spoken out about Jaylen Brunson in a non-factual light. Kenny the Jet Smith, I know those are takes. Those are his opinions. Kenny the Jet Smith has been very critical of Jaylen Brunson as well when talking about the Eastern Conference point guards. He is another one that needs to realize that Jaylen Brunson is 1A. And I say 1A going back to Becky Hammon's quotes, I guess a couple of months ago, when she was talking about how smaller guards, those of Jaylen Brunson's stature, really don't win aren't the primary scoring options on championship winning teams, which I understand where she was going with that comment, but nonetheless, you cannot take anything away from what Jaylen Brunson is doing. He should be an all-star starter. In my last post-game live, I talked about the stat discrepancy between him and Dame. Dame got the nod as a starter in the Eastern Conference all-star game, an all-star game for the Eastern Conference team. And it's just a shame. It's just a shame because I feel like Jaylen Brunson, odds all are always against him, being that underdog, being that guy, the smallest guy on the court most often than not, but he's playing bully ball in the paint. We saw it later on in this game, shrugging guys off. His footwork is impeccable. There's nothing really much else if you're a New York Knicks fan and if you're an NBA media personality that you need to see out of Jaylen Brunson. He is a dog and he is a 1A scoring option. And I think we can confidently say, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think we can confidently say at this juncture of the season, the New York Knicks, our New York Knicks, are NBA championship contenders. That's right. I said it. The Knicks, winners of 8 straight, the hottest team in the NBA, just moving into the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, ought to be thought of as NBA championship contenders from here on out. And that is just a simple fact of the nature. Knicks limiting the turnovers. This is something that I definitely wanted to see down the stretch from the Knicks. Obviously, we talked about, or Mike and Clyde talked about it on the broadcast today, talking about the lack of turnovers from this Knicks team. That is going to keep them in the ball game against any team in comparison to the many, many, many turnovers that the Utah Jazz had tonight. That was a good, clean basketball game. All in all, it was a good, clean basketball game on both sides of the ball, both offensively and defensively. Dante DiVincenzo, Isaiah Hartenstein, all of these Knicks guards, Deuce McBride getting their hands in the passing lane. This is a culture. This is not only a trend with the New York Knicks anymore. This is New York Knicks basketball culture that Tom Thibodeau has instilled in this organization, is this defense and the pride that these guys play with on the defensive side of the ball. So shout out Tom Thibodeau. I don't think he gets enough props, and I still think a lot of people are down on Tom Thibodeau, although I do see a lot more Knicks fans on my timeline giving props are due. Tom Thibodeau is going to be one of the best coaches in Knicks history. Let's call a spade for what it is when it's all said and done. I'm not going to say the best, but one of the best. And he's definitely helped this organization turn itself around over the course of since the last 4 years, somewhere around there. Ever since Julius Randle walked into those doors in the 2019-2020 season, Tom Thibodeau has done an absolutely phenomenal job. And Quinton Grimes, I believe he had, like I said, I don't want to say how many points these guys had because I don't have the stat sheet right in front of me, but I'm going to pull it up anyways. He had a fantastic game off of the bench. Quinton Grimes did. This is a type of guy that the Knicks have ultimately put in trade talks for one reason or another in terms of how they're going to upgrade this roster moving forward. He finished with 12 points, was +6 in the plus-minus category, hit 2 threes in the game, went 4 of 10 from the field. But like I said, all in all, impressive game. Whenever Quinton Grimes looks confident out there and he's attacking the rim to open up his outside game is something that I always look out of Quinton Grimes. And I think that he strayed away from that, especially when he was still in that starting role with the New York Knicks. And we're starting to see that confident version of Quinton Grimes now, and it's refreshing to see. So shout out Quinton Grimes. Like I said, this is a clean ball game. No OG, no Julius, no problem. Hart's impact is undeniable. Josh Hart, Precious Achiuwa, shout out to them stepping up. Dante DiVincenzo, Jaylen Brunson just shy of another 30-burger himself. This team is clicking on all cylinders, and I absolutely love it, and I appreciate the way that they're playing. This is something that we've been looking for so long as Knicks fans, and to finally have it here, to finally say this Knicks team is the hottest team in the NBA, winning 8 straight with 6 at home and a lot more home games coming up for this team in a row. This is an absolute I guess blessing at this point is what I can say. This is a blessing, the product that we have to watch. And shout out Leon Rose for putting this all together. This team still does need a little bit of work, I think, in the second unit to build that success over the longevity of not only this season, but for future years to come, especially when the playoff time hits in this 2023-2024 season. But nonetheless, the trade deadline is just about a little bit a week over away, and we'll see what Leon Rose has up his sleeve in terms of improving this roster. In other news, not in terms of this win, although as much as I would love to keep talking about the New York Knicks and this winning basketball that we've seen over the last 8 games, Mr. Taj Gibson is back. That is right. Tom Thibodeau's favorite, Taj Gibson, signs a 10-day contract to come back to the New York Knicks. The GOAT is simply back, and we saw and we heard through my TV, I even heard the "We Want Taj" chants that were raining out in Madison Square Garden, and Tom Thibodeau gave what the fans wanted all along in terms of having Taj Gibson back on this roster, obviously proving to be a very, I guess, pivotal player, not really a pivotal player, but he's had a very big impact on this Knicks organization over the last couple of years, last couple of seasons, especially in that 2020 to 2021 playoff run. It's great to have him back. Like I said, we're not going to see that sample size from Taj Gibson just due to the nature of Isaiah Hartenstein hopefully getting healthier, Precious Achiuwa taking on an increased workload, and if needed as a backup option, Jericho Sims getting that burn with the New York Knicks here moving forward. But it's good to have this veteran presence on the New York Knicks back on a 10-day contract. Anytime the Knicks are thinking about bringing Taj Gibson back onto this roster, into this organization, I will always, always, always be up for it, because I think that impact that he has on the bench, especially with these young guys, because let's face it, the Knicks are still one of the youngest teams in the entire league. We talk about guys like Quinton Grimes and Deuce McBride. Sitting on that bench with Taj Gibson can definitely help them in the long run. Guys that still need to polish their game, but definitely have that untapped potential. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline. Taj Gibson is back, and I'm so happy to see him back on the floor, getting some burn in garbage time today, and happy that Mr. Tom Thibodeau let that happen. Also, one thing that I want to note here in terms of Tom Thibodeau, Tibbs, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing keeping Jaylen Brunson out there in crunch time? What's going on here? Even Clyde Frazier, Mr. Walt Clyde Frazier, is talking on the broadcast. Tom Thibodeau needs to stop being stubborn and pull these starters in garbage time minutes. We saw Jaylen Brunson get elbowed in the face late there. These are injuries waiting to happen. My only knock on Tom Thibodeau is getting these starters the hell out of the game when garbage time rolls around and the Knicks are up big. Other than that, Tibbs, you're doing great. I appreciate the smile every now and again. We saw the smiles, I guess, in that Charlotte game, especially in the post game. He's feeling himself. Tom Thibodeau is feeling himself. He knows he's got a winning roster, and he's getting the most out of his guys right now. And most importantly, we know the narrative that the Knicks fan base collectively on Knicks Twitter wanted to spew over the last couple of seasons, that this team doesn't play for Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks can't get the most out of their players with Tom Thibodeau as head coach. These guys love playing for Tom Thibodeau, and you can see it on a nightly basis. Make no mistake about it. Okay, game notes, like I said, moving on. We get the GOAT Taj Gibson back. Very happy to see him back in a Knicks uniform, regardless of what his sample size or his workload is going to be moving forward. Here are your updated Eastern Conference standings. Obviously, I have the Knicks are 30-17 overall, but we all know that's not true. They are 31-17 overall, 14 games over 500. I can't believe I'm saying that. The Knicks are 14 games over 500, and they are fourth. Check that as of right now, before the end of the Sixers-Warriors game that's tipping off here in just a minute. The Knicks are your third seed team. They came into the night, like you see on the bottom of your screen. This is the standings going into tonight, tied record-wise, I guess, with the 76ers, and there was just a couple of percentage points discrepancy there that gave the 76ers that third seed. But right now, the Knicks, as of right now, 10:10 p.m. on January 30th, The Knicks are your third seed in the Eastern Conference. Absolutely outstanding basketball. I think the Pacers dropped the game today. Let's look at what that score was. It was a very tight game between the Pacers and the Boston Celtics. Let's see here. The Celtics do win that one by 5 points, 129 to 124. This is your Eastern Conference standing watch. Pacers dropped to 27 and 21. Celtics improved to 37 and 11. And like I said, your New York Knicks they're creeping up there. They're creeping up there. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm happy with the third seed. But when I look at this Knicks team and look at who's directly ahead of them with the Milwaukee Bucks, ooh, I want that 2 seed. I want that 2 seed really badly. Give me that 2 seed. Keep the streak going. Like I said, the Knicks are bound to drop one here. I'm not going to put any bad juju, but let's face it, they can't keep this pace forever. I want this 2 seed really badly, and they are in a very good position with the strength of schedule or lack thereof for the New York Knicks in terms of the remainder of this month moving into February. This is something that we're going to have serious conversations around on the next live stream when we talk about the updated Eastern Conference standings. And honestly, like I said, this is going to be a very short post game going on 21 minutes live here on the channel. I'm not going to ramble on too much, but we do have a face that we saw in today's game playing against the New York Knicks, and that is Jordan Clarkson. Some of the initial rumblings that I saw on the timeline today alluding to the fact that the Knicks might have some interest here in terms of bolstering that second unit. Obviously, the scoring has taken a little bit of an impact. Josh Hart has definitely stepped up. Precious Achiuwa, when Hart is on the floor and healthy, has stepped up in the second unit, but outside of Deuce McBride and I guess Quinton Grimes here as of recent, this team needs a primary ball handler and they need a predominant scorer to come off the bench, especially for the rest of the season. Jordan Clarkson, like I said, looked very bad today. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to make any excuses for Jordan Clarkson in the way that he looked tonight. Obviously, as far as the turnovers go, the field goal percentage, he did not have a great night, but he is a vet at this point that can score off the bench. One of the leading scorers in the NBA off the bench. You see 17.8 points per game. He came into today's ball game averaging the assist category upwards of 5 assists per game. Definitely has the capability of being that primary ball handler and that playmaker for the New York Knicks that they so desperately need to man that point guard position and slot Deuce McBride, who we all know is going to be a part of this rotation. Deuce McBride is moving forward with that spot up 3 capability over to shooting guard. And honestly, at this point, I know he's shooting abysmal this season and has for the last couple of seasons from 3, but Jordan Clarkson could make a little bit of sense for the New York Knicks. Like I said, not a great performance today by any stretch of the imagination, but this guy is capable. He's shown that over the longevity of his career. Just recently, I believe, winning a Sixth Man of the Year award honor. I know it wasn't last year, I don't believe, but it was recently. And let me look up when that actually happened because I'm blanking on that. Sixth Man of the Year. Sixth Man of the Year. Let's see what year that was. That was in 2021. He won Sixth Man of the Year. So yeah, like I said, he's been there before. He's a veteran. He's capable of improving this Knicks roster. And honestly, this is something that we all have to keep an eye out on at this point because the Knicks are said to be interested in Jordan Clarkson. That's my sports checking into the stream. Shout out you, salute to you. Anybody else watching live or in the rerun, go subscribe to That's My Sports, talking all things sports on their channel. I heard Jordan Clarkson can't throw hands. If you know, you know. I don't know. I actually don't know. What is that about? Drop that in the comments because I actually don't know what you're referring to. I know if this is Aaron behind That's My Sports, I know a lot of what you throw out there and those little clever sort of sayings. But I actually don't know what you're alluding to here. Someone fill me in. But speaking of throwing hands, who does Colin Sexton think he is? Early on in the ball game, first quarter, talking with the crowd, getting in Jaylen Brunson's face. Who does he think he is? Who does he think he is? Come on, man. Stop playing with Jaylen Brunson overall, objectively and subjectively as a Knicks fan. Best point guard in the entire Eastern Conference. Stop playing on Jaylen Brunson's name. Colin Sexton, you must have forgot who you are, man. You must have forgot who you are. But yeah, like I said, you have pros and cons with Jordan Clarkson. Obviously, a potential fit. I could see if this comes to fruition, what the thought process would be behind a potential Jordan Clarkson acquisition. But there are cons to his game as well. Like I said, this team is playing elite defense right now. Tom Thibodeau instilling that culture into this Knicks organization. Jordan Clarkson don't play defense. He's not a great defender by any stretch of the imagination. Whether you just watch it with the naked eye and just watch the ball game, or going into the statistics of it, which I'm not going to get into in this stream, go look at the advanced metrics. He's not a great defender. That doesn't fit into this team. It would be predominantly for the scoring. And like I said, the Knicks keeping the turnovers relatively at bay tonight. Jordan Clarkson is averaging just under 3 turnovers a game. Let's face it, there are some lapses. Being that primary ball handler, that's another con to his game that I guess you could argue against the point of Jordan Clarkson. But I think the main consensus here as we move forward to this trade deadline that's going to happen on February 1st, that cutoff, is that the Knicks need to upgrade their second unit. And I just can't see the Knicks booting Dante DiVincenzo with how great he's looked this season from that starting two-guard role. A lot of people talking about not Dante DiVincenzo. A lot of people talking about DeJounte Murray early on. I don't think Atlanta makes that deal with the Knicks, whether it's an organizational thing or just the package in return that the Knicks are not willing to give up. I don't think that's going to happen. Some recent smoke around Mikal Bridges and the Nets potentially making him available for trade. I don't think the Knicks and Nets make a trade for Mikal Bridges. I don't think the Knicks are in a position right now to trade for anybody that's going to slot in the starting unit. I really don't think so. I think that's going to happen in the offseason. And right now, this front office is going to prioritize that second unit. Now, like I said, if the Knicks, something comes out of left field and the Knicks do strike a deal for DeJounte Murray, I'm going to be ecstatic. I'm going to be ecstatic because I do think a backcourt of Jaylen Brunson and DeJounte Murray can work, contrary to popular belief. Now, you'll take the ball out of Jaylen Brunson's hands a lot more than he has right now, a lot more than he's showing right now per possession. But nonetheless, that can happen because Jaylen Brunson has capability of being that spot-up shooter. We've seen it, and the statistics support it, but I just don't think organizationally Leon Rose, whether it's the beef with Hawks and keeping DeJounte Murray out of the Eastern Conference, or just that CAA versus Clutch Sports beef, whatever it may have you, I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think the Knicks are in any position right now to make a rash decision in terms of the trade market. Bolster the second unit, create flexibility, create longevity, and set this team up for success scoring-wise, off the bench, maybe get a little lengthier. If Jordan Clarkson and Kelly Olynyk can come in the package, I'd be more than happy with that because guess what? Obviously, Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be back. We have Precious Achiuwa right now playing that 4-man role or that 5-man role, the backup center option. He's still undersized, and he's doing really well out there in terms of his matchups and those assignments against opposing centers, only being 6'8", 6'9". Imagine if the Knicks get a bigger backup center option, maybe a Kelly Olynyk. I know he's only 6'10" and plays maybe a stretch 4, but you can slot him in as the backup center and get Precious Achiuwa back to his natural four-man position, power forward position, and Precious Achiuwa is going to be a scary sight. If he's dominating centers right now and doing well in that category, being undersized, imagine what's going to happen when he's going up against guys his side in the power forward position. It's going to be a scary sight. So like I said, Kelly Olynyk and potentially Jordan Clarkson. Like I said, I'm not sold on Jordan Clarkson, but if the Knicks do like him, I understand where that thought process is going. And that's my sports following up here saying he's always been a quote unquote tough guy. He never throws punches when he squares up. All right. I mean, I don't know. Is Jordan Clarkson feisty? I don't know, man. I don't really see any sort of fights. I don't pay attention to Jordan Clarkson all that much, honestly. I just know his game. I know how he is on the court. I know that he can shoot the ball. Obviously, it's not reflected in his just over 30% three. That's pretty abysmal. But all in all, he can score off the bench. One of the leading scorers off of the bench in the entire NBA in this season. So, like I said, keep an eye out on those rumors. Like I said, if you've missed the first half of the stream, just going on half an hour here talking about this Knicks in the post game. If you're tuning in right now, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, bottom right-hand corner as you're watching this over on YouTube, subscribe to the channel for more Knicks talk. We'll be going live for more True Knicks Talk Podcast episodes, both live streams, post-game lives, especially when we get into the playoffs. I'll be live streaming Knicks games. You can make no mistake about that. And just subscribe to the channel for more Knicks Talk. I definitely appreciate that. That's my sports saying. With Spider being a free agent next year, do you want him at the trade deadline? I mean, yeah, Donovan Mitchell, despite what anybody says, basically a lot of people are saying that Donovan Mitchell, a backcourt of Donovan Mitchell and Jaylen Brunson won't work with the stature, with the lack of defense. And I think Donovan Mitchell is a better defender than a lot of people give him credit for. But absolutely, I think anybody would be a fool not to want Spida on this team. I want Donovan Mitchell. The fit is there, in my humble opinion. If you want to disagree, you're more than welcome to hit me in the chat about why you disagree. I think combined with his scoring abilities, a backcourt of Jaylen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell would be a scary sight on the offensive side of the ball, especially with a team that's surrounding them that is defensive focused. Mitchell Robinson coming back when he comes back. Isaiah Hartenstein, a dog down there. Filling in for Mitchell Robinson with the center duties. OG Anunoby's defense coming into play now. This team is set up defensively to succeed no matter what. Dante DiVincenzo also is a dog on the defensive side of the ball, getting his hands in passing lanes. I don't think it's going to happen at the trade deadline. And honestly, I wouldn't necessarily approach the Cavaliers in making that rash a decision at this trade deadline for Spida. I think if this materializes, I'm going to stay true to my word in that the starting unit does not change with the exception of Mitchell Robinson coming back potentially later on. There's been good news surrounding that, potentially coming back somewhere around April, just before the playoffs start. But no, I don't think it happens at the trade deadline, to be honest with you. I don't see the starting unit changing from now until February 8th in that cutoff. So good question. I still want Spida on this team. Maybe there's negotiations with the Cavaliers. I believe, is Spida a free agent? I thought I was under the assumption that he was a free agent in 2025. Let me look at his contract right now because that's something that I haven't really, I guess, looked into here. Yeah, he's not a free agent. He's not a free agent. He's under contract in 2025 for next season. He's got a player option for the season after that in 2025, 2026, which he will inevitably decline because I know that he's going to want to, one, get paid more, and two, he doesn't like playing in Cleveland. That is very obvious. So I think that the Knicks do call up the Cleveland Cavaliers in some sort of capacity in this offseason and ask what it takes to get Donovan Mitchell on this team. So like I said, that is my thoughts on the Donovan Mitchell fit with the New York Knicks. But yeah, he's not a free agent next year. He's a free agent the following year, but he will inevitably decline that player option, making him a free agent. So let's monitor that. The Knicks' upcoming game is Thursday, February 1st, 7:30 p.m. against the Indiana Pacers. This is a team that I want to beat so badly, man. I want to beat so badly. I think the last matchup with the Pacers was the very day that IQ and the RJ trade went down for OG Anunoby. The Knicks were shorthanded. I believe Julius Randle got into a little bit of a shoving match with Obi Toppin. There was some, I guess, feistiness there between those two players. We know the history there of Obi Toppin backing up Julius Randle over the longevity of his career so far in the NBA before he was moved. And now Pascal Siakam is a Indiana Pacer. I want to see how the Knicks fare against the Pacers. Pacers are a good team. They're a tough team. I'll give them credit. But the New York Knicks are much better on paper. And like I said, this should be a win if I had to draw it up. I really want to beat this team so bad, man. They talk a lot. Tyrese Halliburton and everybody talking about the point guards in the Eastern Conference. Everybody talking about Tyrese Halliburton and underselling Jaylen Brunson. I don't understand it, but nonetheless, OG versus Pascal part one. This is going to be something to keep an eye out on. This is a matchup that I'm definitely excited for. Seeing OG hopefully be back into that starting unit. We know he's dealing with some elbow inflammation. He has now been scratched in back-to-back games on the Knicks back-to-back, obviously yesterday in Charlotte and tonight at home against the Utah Jazz. I hope he's able to suit up, and I want to see that OG Anunoby versus Pascal Siakam matchup because I think that would be very interesting. And like I said, both of these teams looking a lot different than their last matchup. So just coupled with the fact that Indiana just talks too much, man. I just want to see the Knicks knock these guys off. That would be phenomenal. That'd be phenomenal. And I agree with you, Jay. I hope OG can suit up on Thursday. This is a guy that has made a tremendous impact to this Knicks team. I don't even need to go out of my way and say that. We all know what OG Anunoby brings to this team, both offensively and defensively. Obviously, his spot up shooting from the 3-point line, especially in the corner, his versatility, his playmaking, finding the open man, and that all NBA defense that fits perfectly into what Tom Thibodeau and these New York Knicks are all about, preaching defense, getting his hands in the passing lane. And he is single-handedly the guy that is going to save this team from other teams blowing them out of the gym in terms of the three-point shooting, because we saw last playoffs the Miami Heat catch fire from three, especially with Obi Toppin on the floor down the stretch in the playoff series in the second round. The rotations were late. That is something OG Anunoby has helped and will continue helping out with this team, getting the guys in the right spots. And if a guy's not in the right spot, OG Anunoby will slot over and play some help prevent defense. That is something where he excels in. And a lot of people don't notice that part about OG Anunoby's game. We like to see the flashy steals and all that good stuff. If you're truly watching OG Anunoby on a nightly basis, look at his positioning on the floor. Defensively, I'm talking about. Offensively, too, because he moves very well off ball. But defensively, look at the spots that OG Anunoby gets to, not only when he's guarding his man at the perimeter up top and his footwork there, but when he's playing off-ball defense. If somebody's not in their position to rotate accurately on a three-ball shooter when the offensive team, whoever the Knicks are playing, are swinging the ball around, OG Anunoby is going to step in and make sure to mitigate any sort of potential defensive lapses. So that is a very underrated aspect and component of difference making that OG Anunoby brings to this team. And I'm talking like my high school basketball self here, talking about off-ball defense, help defense. But obviously, I love basketball. I love the game of basketball. That is something that we have to watch, and that's what makes a great player. And that's why this guy's an all-NBA defender. He knows how to move off ball. That's something that's very important. Not only guarding your guy at the perimeter, but also mitigating any sort of lapses your defense, your teammates around you might make. Is that something that OG definitely excels in? So I encourage you, if you haven't been watching that as a Knicks fan, next game, make sure you watch that he's on the floor. But I thoroughly agree with your comment, Jay. I hope he can suit up because OG versus Pascal, part one, ever since they've been traded to their respective teams from Toronto, is going to be a movie. Like I said, these are my game notes. Again, I'm going to wrap this all up. Knicks winners of 8 straight in a row. Hottest team in the NBA. Winners of 6 straight at home. The Knicks are in a position to be absolutely special and keep this streak going, especially when we look at the schedule and the strength of schedule, not only the strength of schedule, but also playing at home. I believe it's an absurd amount of games in a row at home. Let me look at the schedule here. I'm not exactly sure how many games it is at home, but it's something to be said for the Knicks feeding off of the MSG crowd. Like I said, winners of 6 straight at home. That is something that is undeniable. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 5 games are at home for the New York Knicks. That is awesome. Shout out the NBA schedule makers. We got Indiana, the Lakers, Memphis, Dallas, and Indiana again over the next 5, visiting the Garden and taking on your New York Knicks. The Knicks, the same Knicks team that are winners of 8 straight. Like I said, Dante DiVincenzo, shout out him. Tremendous impact. A lot of people are wondering, why would Sleepy Leon give him 4 years, $50 million, especially when this team had IQ? Well, you're seeing exactly right now what Leon Rose saw in this kid in this offseason. And that's my sports if you're still here. wondering about Dante DiVincenzo in some of my post-game lives earlier on this season, we're seeing exactly why he is capable of being that starting two guard for the rest of the way for the New York Knicks, and why I think that the Knicks aren't going to bolster this starting unit. Like I said, stranger things have happened, but if I had to deduce how this front office is thinking and all the reports I've been hearing, I'm expecting the starting unit to remain still. And honestly, I'm not the type of Knicks fan to say somebody new and here is going to cause team disruption in terms of the team chemistry. If someone can play, if they can ball and they want to start and they deserve to start, they're going to start. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I don't want DeJounte Murray because he's going to mess up the chemistry. It could be true, but you'll never know until you make that trade. So if the opportunity is there to make the deal, why not make the deal? I just don't see it happening. That's my view on it. Josh Hart, Precious Ochiuwa stepping up big time. Shout out to them. Grimes stepping up off the bench, 12 points off the bench. Shout out to him. Brunson, you're a dog. Nothing else to say on you. You know that I support you always. Knicks limited the turnovers. Defense continues to shine on all accounts. Even without OG and Julius, this defense is physical, and it's going to give opposing offenses such a tough time. And like I said, no OG, no Julius. We'll monitor Julius Randle's update with maybe some more concrete MRI reports coming out. Like I said, this has been the True Knicks Talk Podcast. It is 10:31 p.m. on the night of January 30th. Your New York Knicks are the hottest team in the NBA. I've said that 5 times on this live stream already, and I'll continue to say it because it feels just so good to watch this team play night in and night out and know that we're going to get their best performance on both sides of the ball. Like I said, whether you're tuning in to the live stream and you've dropped your comment, shout out Jay and That's My Sports, or you're catching the recap and the rerun, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Keep rocking with me. I'm going to be talking New York Knicks throughout the rest of the season. I even talked New York Knicks going back to the last playoff run on this channel. I did a little bit of live streaming in that Miami Heat series. So make sure you go all the way back to April, May time and check that out on the channel. Keep rocking with me. Bottom right-hand corner as you watch this video, hover over my icon, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I don't just do Knicks content. I do New York Mets content. I just hopped off a live stream not only an hour ago talking New York Mets with my fellow Mets content creators. I talk New York Rangers, New York Giants, all that good stuff. Probably doing a New York Giants stream with my guys tomorrow night. Check that out if you're a Giants fan as well. And like I said, for more Knicks content and more New York sports talk in general, not only on this YouTube, but all my social media handles at CPNY Sports on X and Instagram. Follow me there. Almost at 2,000 followers also on my X platform. I appreciate it. Thank you all for the support. If you haven't subscribed already, if you know any Knicks friends or family members that want more Knicks content, maybe they want somebody to listen to and rant about this team on the post game, I'm your guy. I'm their guy. Shout out to you all. Thank you for the support. This has been another episode of the True Knicks Talk Podcast. It's your boy CP. Until the next game, not sure when I'm going to do my next Knicks live stream. I do them as my schedule allows, but let's get that win in Indiana. It's been a great podcast episode. Shout out the Knicks. Winners of 8 straight, 118-103 over the Utah Jazz at home. Peace. Thank you for watching the latest episode of the CP New York Sports Pod. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions, and use the lower right-hand button of this video to subscribe to the channel.